Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, very, very, warm welcome today morning to our small little program here in Gachibowli. Many others will be joining Prabhuji. 7:15 is the time for Bhagavatam class, but we are extremely fortunate to have you again. Very grateful, Prabhuji. Let us welcome His Grace Dwarkadish Prabhu with loud and enthusiastic three Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your warm welcome.
Oh, your sheer presence makes us so enthusiastic to serve more, Prabhuji. Really. Thank you. Thank you for joining us again. Many of them in the call know you already. So we can start with anytime you're okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. We'll start right now.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. So it's a great fortune to have you in the Kartik month. Hearing from your grace, it's so grateful. You must have had so many other commitments, but you still gave this time for us, Prabhuji. We are somewhere lost in Hyderabad, but your presence makes us somewhere recognized. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Feel the pull of your welcome is so strong, and the group you have created with your sweat and love and brought all these wonderful devotees together itself is a proof of your commitment in Krishna consciousness. So I cannot but want to serve devotees like you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll offer our prayers as we always do, our invocation prayers, and we'll take up some discussion. Time allotted is till 8:45, so I won't speak for so long, but we'll keep time for interaction, Prabhuji, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
That'll be nice, so we can discuss, we can churn out more through our discussion.
Yes.
Om Gyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhantamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for the opportunity once again. I'm speaking from the holy place of over the Nico village right now. So very happy to be here. And what is catching my attention right away, more than anything else, is on my left side is a large glass window, which is opening exactly to the sun.
Yeah.
And some of you, if you have come here, you have seen there's a beautiful mountain range here. And at 7:15 exactly, the sun has just shown its beautiful head, and it is rapidly going towards its journey for the whole day. So that observation of nature's finest beauty, to see the rising sun, is a sight which inspires some very noble thoughts in the heart. In fact, that's the whole purpose of being in connection with nature, that when you are with nature, then nature gives an environment whereby the introspective devotees, what Prabhupada calls introspective sage, can actually churn it hearts towards the higher truths of life. And that's the whole purpose of nature, actually. Today is a very, very auspicious day, 14 November 2021. And on the same auspicious day, in 1977, in the holiest land of Sri Brajadham, His Divine Grace, our beloved Srila Prabhupada, Isi Bhaktivedanta Swami, left his mortal coil to re-enter into the Parampadam, eternal Leela of the Lord, Nitya Leela Pravishta, what we call, right? We entered Krishna's Radha Krishna Nitya Leela. So, in previous years, when we have been in the Kartik Yatra, on Prabhupada Disappearance Day, or on this day, I think all of us remember the experience of entering that small little room behind the temple, which is decorated beautifully by flowers, rose petals, garlands, mogra, champa, all around Prabhupada's that holy bed on which he would sleep and he spent his last days in this world. And how devotees would go there in the morning and in the whole day and at least do a few rounds of japa there to catch the power of that place. And that place is so dear to Srila Prabhupada, and therefore it's so dear to all of us. Thinking of the sun, thinking of Prabhupada is the same thing. Prabhupada is that sun. Prabhupada is the real sun in this dark age of Kali. Typically, this world is a dark place. By design itself, the world is a dark place. The other day we were thinking about this phenomena, that what differentiates the material world and the spiritual world? And many things, but primarily it is illumination. The material world is a dark place, and the spiritual world is actually always fully illuminated. Right? That place has got no sun and no moon. At least they are there, but they are not required for illumination. But this world is typically a place which is dark. Why is it dark? When you think of a dark place, I'm reminded of a jail. None of us have been to a jail, but we know what a jail looks like. At least in movies we have seen jails. Jails are never places where there is a bright halogen lamp or a nice chandelier, beautiful, nice, false ceiling with illuminated nice bulbs everywhere. Jails are never like that. Jails are always, the typical jails where the worst prisoners are kept are small, they are dark, and a place where there is a large loss of freedom of the prisoners. So this is what the material jail is also about. This place, because it is a jail, it is not illuminated, it's dark. And therefore, the Lord has to put his artificial lighting system in this world. And therefore, he gives the sun during the daytime, the moon during the night time. Right? Otherwise, without that, this place is going to be so dark. What does the sun and the moon signify to us? The sun and the moon, which Krishna says are his own eyes, right? Krishna has two eyes, like you have eyes, we have two eyes, all of us have two eyes. Krishna also has two eyes. The two eyes in this world are the sun and the moon. The function of the eye is to see the things around us. So Krishna sees his creation. He looks at all of us, his children, and with his merciful glance to the sun during the daytime and through the moon during the night time. Because Krishna cannot not reconnect to his children and look over what they are doing, how they are faring in his holy absence, having left him for millions of lifetimes in vain pursuit of pleasures from the world of matter, which intrinsically is not designed to give pleasure, but actually only gave pain. Or if at all, give transient, fleeting, very temporary type of sensory pleasure, but can never touch the soul. There's no matter in this world, there's no experience in this world from Swargaloka to Pataloka which can ever touch the soul. It can only at best stimulate our intellect or give pleasure to our senses or to our mind, but can never enter into the depth of our soul. And therefore, when you think of Srila Prabhupada, you think of Prabhupada in a way that he carried in that power to illuminate the whole world. Imagine the power of one person, right? A person like you and me in flesh and blood, short statured person, maybe a little over 5 feet, not a very tall man, not a very muscular man, not a very charismatic man, right? But a man who had the intrinsic power of Krishna in his heart. In the Vana Parva of Mahabharata, there's a beautiful, nice shloka, which I read the other day. We may have also heard it many times before. Tarko apratishto, Tarko apratishto, Shutrayo vibhinno, Nasav rishi yasya matam na bhinnam, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya, mahajanaina gatha sapantaha. These words have come from the lotus mouth of Yudhishthira Maharaj, the epitome of Dharma himself. When he talks about Dharma, it is very powerful. Said, how does Krishna reach back to his children? And this is important to understand for devotees, the scheme of the world. What is the scheme? What is the design of this world? And why it is made the way it has been made, right? So for introspective, serious devotee, when he understands the scheme of creation, it gives impetus to the heart to understand how the Creator created and what does he want to achieve through his creation. So, as we were saying, the sun and the moon are the primary illuminations. Why? Because Krishna wants to keep the heart and the world of his lost children illuminated, right? Now, first, illumination is at two levels, external and internal. Externally through the sun and the moon. So we are happy when the sunrise is there, we feel very nice. It's very warm, it's nice. Now winter is setting in now. Mid-November, we are getting into, it'll get a little colder now gradually. And to sit in the sun, bask in the sun, with little minimal clothes, to have the warm sun hit your body, the way Prabhupada would sit. In the morning, he would take the sunlight and his body would shimmer like a golden color. Hariswari Prabhu writes in Transcendental Diary, right? His body was golden. It wasn't like ours, wheat colored. It was golden colored. He had a hue. He had the effulgence of the Lord in the heart emanating through his transcendental body. So we feel very warm and nice in the morning sun. That is external illumination. But Krishna also is interested simultaneously in making a creation which will allow his own grace to enter into the lives of his lost children. The external illumination is necessary for sustenance of material life, and the internal illumination is necessary for sustenance of the internal environment of our life. So both of them are equally essential. Without the sun, there can be no life, as you know. Scientifically speaking, if there is no sun in this world, there cannot be any life. The sun is the very source of life in this world, right? All the grains we eat, all the food we eat for our survival has to come from rains. And rains cannot come unless there is evaporation of the oceans to form clouds. And evaporation only takes place because the sun is shining on the oceans. And then clouds then release torrents of rain over mountains, fields, and the whole world is sanctified by that downpour, and crops and grains grow, which we eat for our survival, right? The sun is a source of life for external existence. And yet, as this beautiful sloka says, where does the internal illumination of the heart take place from? So first it negates, in one sense, tarko pratishto. He says, you cannot get internal illumination by just tarka. Tarka means logic, logical thinking. Transcendental knowledge is typically not accessible to the process of logical discussions. We can rise up to a particular level of understanding, but the real tattva is so deep and so profound that logic is a short. That's like you want to measure the distance between, Bombay and Hyderabad. You cannot take a foot ruler. You cannot take a foot ruler. So, okay, let me measure the distance between Bombay and Hyderabad with a foot ruler or a scale which these carpenters use. Right? You have to have a different method of measuring that. Similarly, if you want to understand the depth of Krishna consciousness, Krishna's existence, then the foot rule of logic is rather short. It doesn't reach the length of the understanding which we need to have to understand Krishna. So, tarko apratishto. Shrutaya vibhinno. Now, scripture is important. Scripture is very, very important. But let's understand that scripture has to be read. Scripture has to be read. And who reads it makes a lot of difference. So when different people read scripture, different meanings emanate from the same scripture. That's a problem. When Prabhupada was speaking in this world, Prabhupada mentions one place that there were 645 translations of the Bhagavad Gita. Imagine, 645 versions of the same scripture. How does a person like you and me who is interested in Gita ever understand which scripture, which Gita to buy, which Gita to read, and which is the authentic version? Right? We would be complete loss. So our faith in Gita is fine, but it is challenged by the fact that there are so many people who are sort of meddling with the message of the Gita, and that creates confusion. Naso rishi ryasya matam na bhinnam. And every rishi, every sage, every scholar, every author will have matam, which is bhinnam. Mata means opinion, bhinnam means different. So if you find all these people are saying, the same sloka, but everyone is giving different interpretations. And therefore, Rishi Maharaj seems to tell us that it is not the highest. This doesn't mean that scriptures are not important, but the scriptures are important, but it is not the sole means of illuminating our hearts with knowledge. There is, what is the conditions apply? We'll talk about that as we go closer to the sloka. Then it says further, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam. The Tattva of these scriptures is hidden. It is hidden knowledge. Typically, Krishna conscious knowledge is very secretive. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. What does it mean to have secret knowledge? Generally, says secret knowledge means it is that which is shared by very few. Pentagon secret, how many missiles went to start a war with another warring country, is something which it will not be given out in in the public forum. You're going to attack this country after 5 p.m. on this day. Somebody will say like that, right? It is something which only few, the president, the prime minister, the commander-in-chief of the naval forces or army forces, the home minister, defense minister, just maybe 5 or 10 people will know that there's going to be a war. That's called a secret, right? But this spiritual secret is something different. It is open to everyone to read, to understand, and yet the meaning remains secretive. The purport remains secretive. The words are known, but the meaning behind the words are not understood. It remains locked, right? It is such a fantastic system Krishna has made. He made the whole world, it's like open secret. Everyone can read the Gita. But actually, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati is a lock. You put a lock there, where only the people who have the key which carries bhakti can open this lock, right? Anyone who has jnana key, karma key, or yoga key, he will not be able to unlock it, right? Once you use the key of bhakti, then the lock gets opened, right? So it says the secrets of the scriptures are hidden in the heart of the pure devotee. How wonderful is that, right? The entire gamut of so many thousands of scriptures, thousands of Upanishads, so many Upanishads, and the scriptures are even beyond Upanishads and Puranas. There are so many scriptures. Agamas are there, the Upapuranas are there. Now, people like you and me don't even know how many scriptures are there. The other day, I was talking to a person who's in charge of the Bhakti Vedanta Research Center at Kolkata, right? And scriptures were there in this world, and how many were actually by colonial forces who came into India from abroad, Afghanistan and other places, how they destroyed not just temples and the deities, which we all know, but they also burnt a lot of scriptures. And one particular terrorist from the foreign land, he burned at one time 900,000 scriptures in one place. Start thinking about that and how we need to preserve. You're talking about how do we do to preserve these rare scriptures now. So thousands of scriptures have, been burnt or destroyed or neglected or whatever, right? So the point here we're taking is that the essence of all these scriptures, where is the essence? The essence is within the heart, concealed in the heart of a pure devotee, right? So how important is Srila Prabhupada for us, right? He is that person, that magnanimous person, the most powerful person who actually has imbibed within his heart and has concealed the illumination of the spiritual sky and all that Krishna ever wanted to teach his children in the core of his own heart. So he becomes the direct representative and the embodiment of that knowledge. Therefore, for this understanding which we are talking about right now, we can understand how Krishna is saying, the Guru says, Shakshada Haritvena Samasta Shastra, right? All the scriptures say that this person is not different from Sri Hari. Therefore, he is honored like Sri Hari, even though he is not Sri Hari himself, right? Why is he not different from Sri Hari? Because actually he is living in accordance with that knowledge. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. And therefore, Rishi Maharaj concludes the last line by saying, and therefore the whole world has to understand Mahajanoena Gathasapantha, right? And the path which he takes is a path which the entire civilization of human beings must take, right? Therefore, we had people like Madhavacharya who led civilizations. We had acharyas like Shankaracharya who led civilizations, acharyas like Ramodacharya who led hordes of civilizations behind them. Just like in the, in a marathon race, they have this torchlight when the race begins, marathon games begin, and then behind that, all the, the torchlight of India will be there, and another country, and then all the players follow behind, right? Similarly, the Acharya is in front, and the whole civilization follows, because he is what? He's not a Jana. We are all Janas, right? We are not ordinary people, but he's a Mahajana, right? We are all Atmas, but he's a Mahatma, right? So because he is that, the whole world follows. So this illumination is what our subject of discussion today. And
video off and చూసుకోవాలి.
Hare Krishna. So these scriptures and these three aphorisms which are there, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, right? Mrutyoma Amritagamaya, Asatoma Satgamaya, right? Today we bow down our heads to Srila Prabhupada and all those who are in his line before him and after him, right? And because they are giving us the fulfillment of these verses, they're creating illumination in our lives. And of course, we had Deepavali recently, right? Deepavali is a time when we typically illuminate the world. Typically, Lord Sri Ramachandra came, right? And this is such an important day for us, Deepavali, because it's the day when the entire Ayodhya Dham illuminated with lamps, and the whole city of Ayodhya was illuminated with lamps. Welcome their dear Lord back home. So our hearts are considered like dark places. Sprutuvas, and it is a Hridaya Kandare, right? Typically, the heart is considered as like a dark cave. And in my purport, which I was reading the other day, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned how the pure devotee actually, how Krishna enters into the heart of the pure devotee, transcendental knowledge, and that knowledge, the pure devotee injects within the heart. It's like a nurse or a doctor injects an antibiotic in the vein. The pure devotee actually injects transcendental knowledge in the heart of the conditioned souls. What does it do? Illumination. And therefore, the very first verse which we chant before any invocation prayer is Oma Agyana Timira Andhasya. Right? How the devotees first acknowledge in all humility that we were all born in ignorance. You are all born blind, right? And how this shalaka is actually a rod. Shalaka is a rod which they used to apply what is called as surma earlier, surma. And when you apply surma, that practice is now given up. It is not practiced so much. When you apply surma, then the eyes actually become, the power of the seeing becomes heightened, right? Chakshur unmilitam yena. Therefore, a devotee is always hankering that his heart remains in a state of illumination. Typically, the things of this world are designed to cover the consciousness. All matter, indulgence in matter is typically a means to cover up the soul. And the more we indulge with matter and material energy, the more typically it keeps on covering up the soul, just like the sun gets hidden by the clouds, right? So, because we are dealing in the world with matter, with gadgets and bricks, stone, so many things, everything which we are dealing around with, typically it is designed to cover. And therefore, we find that person who indulges in material life typically becomes very much covered over. right? And the more actually we take shelter of places which are illuminated and people who are illuminated. So let's talk about where the illumination, where does the conditioned soul or sadhaka take his light from? One, of course, we said in the beginning is the pure devotee, right? We must at all times take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and his beloved followers, his representatives. And therefore, in our reading, talking about Prabhupada, one important thing which we often mention is the books we read are of two types by Prabhupada. One which is given by Prabhupada and books about Prabhupada, right? It is important that we do not neglect to read, understand, and discuss books about Prabhupada as well. Because as the sloka nicely says, it is his behavior, it is his knowledge which sends the benchmark of what actually dharma is, right? For us, our reference point of everything we do in ISKCON is how Prabhupada dealt with it, what Prabhupada told about this topic, right? If you want to have any topic about polygamy or about, fruits, or about seasons, or, about Krishna or about the holy name, or could be any topic you can think of, right? And Prabhupada has a comment on that, right? So what was Prabhupada's comment on that? What did Prabhupada think about that, right? About women or parenting, or could be anything. So our benchmark is what did Prabhupada think about this? What did the pure devotee think about this? And therefore, we would like to always not just read books by Prabhupada, the BBT books, but also about Prabhupada, right? It means books like Hariswari Prabhu, Translated Diary, and so many books which are written, the Prabhupada Lilananda, etc. Because the more affinity we develop for the pure devotee is the extent we will feel affinity towards Krishna. Let's not never forget that our approach to Krishna is going to be very superficial unless we have taken a lot of effort to develop an affinity towards his pure representative. Therefore, to feel emotionally connected, to feel intellectually connected, to feel psychologically connected with Prabhupada is important, is very important, right? And that can only come because we don't see Prabhupada today in a physical form. That can only come when actually we read about him. And therefore, many devotees have made a practice to read Lilamrit every day, regularly, right? As for myself, I make a practice to read almost daily if possible, something on Prabhupada. My book that I'm reading right now is Translated Diary by Hariswari Prabhu, where Prabhupada is in November, of course, he's in Vrindavan. It is the last day he's in Vrindavan. The book practically ends on today's day. But if you read about Prabhupada like that every day, what did Prabhupada do on this day? Suppose it is 12th of March. What did Prabhupada do on 12th of March in 1976? Right? Where was he? Oh, he was in Los Angeles. What did he speak on that day? How did he reply the letters? Who came and met him? What is his mood? What did he eat? And you actually travel with Prabhupada when you read about him, right? So in this way, we want to remain very, very closely connected with our beloved founder Acharya. And that gives affinity, attraction, connection, what you call a sambandha. So that's one area of illumination we want to talk about, that to remain connected with Prabhupada's, his persona and his teachings, right, is one of the biggest sources of illumination in our life. Other source of illumination which we take shelter of is the Lord's temple. The temple of the Lord is very powerful. Why? Because the Lord himself is staying there. That is the Lord's home. That is the Lord's abode. Dham means home. Dham means residential place of the Lord is called Dhama, right? The temple is the Lord's abode. So when you so regularly connecting, taking out time from our busy lives to go to a place which is Because everything in the temple of the Lord, whether Tirupati temple or Srirangam temple or ISKCON temple, where the Lord has been properly installed, that means he is physically present there. He is actually physically, Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, Sri Vishnu are present there fully, as much as they're present in the spiritual world. Not even 0.5% iota less. They are fully manifested in the Sri Vigraha, Archa Vigraha avatar form, right? Therefore, to see him there every day, I think Vaisheshika Prabhu says this, I'm sure. So when you go to the temple of the Lord and you have a holy darshan, when the Lord glances upon you in the when you go in the morning, say for Mangalarti or Shringar darshan, whatever time you go, and the Lord's eyes are always open, right? And the Lord is looking at us and he glances on us who are standing in front of him with say folded hands or dancing for his pleasure or having a flower to offer him, whatever, something simple, right? That glance of the Lord actually is called Sudhakar. The Sudhakar glance of the Lord is something which deeply impacts the heart, right? And really opens the inner chambers of our consciousness to allow that glance to enter within. The Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion, when you look at the deity of the Lord, look at him with the eye of devotion. One thing is to look at the Lord with the eyes, the charma chakshu. Other is to see him with the eye of the heart, the inner eyes, right? That he is my shelter. He is my beloved father. Srimati Radhana is my beloved mother. And they have come here to accept, to re-accept my lost fallen soul back within the fold of their loving service. So I'm going to cook for them today, or going to offer obeisances to them today, or going to dance for their pleasure today, or offer a flower to that Lord today, offer a little bit of donation to him. Whatever we are doing, it is a very personal exchange with the Lord. And going to a temple is a personal exchange, right? It's a reciprocation. It's again reconnecting with the Lord whom we have left behind. So the temple of the Lord is a power plus for illumination. And therefore, devotees regularly make it a practice to visit the Lord's temple. Then the third place which is powerfully illumination is there is, as I said, the abode of the Lord, the dham of the Lord, right? In the month of Kartik, as Lilananda Prabhu was saying, typically devotees will take out time to go to Vrindavan or to Siddham Mayapur. And many devotees have come to GV, in fact. They were saying, we cannot go to Vrindavan, so let us at least spend some time in GV. Some of my friends were saying that, so they have spent weekends over here, right? Because it gives you, it is not actually Vrindavan, Bhama Vrindavan, but it gives you a strong feel as good as Vrindavan, right? So what do you call replica or whatever, right? So that feel you get of Vrindavan over here, and your heart opens up to the beauty of Vrindavan. So the dham of the Lord is empowered.
Hare Krishna.
Happened?
We can hear you, Prabhuji.
You can hear?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see me also. You can see me? Yeah.
Yes, we can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So the dham of the Lord is a place of powerful illumination. And therefore, why is it so? Because we actually start seeing the places where the Lord has performed his pastimes. And that typically was done by Lord Chaitanya. He offered this as a command to the Shad Goswamis, right? Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash, illumination, Prakash, right? Illuminate the places again, which over the, with the passage of time have been covered over, right? For example, we know how Shyamkund, Radhakund were covered over and become just small, few feet by few feet paddy fields. There is a small pond in the paddy field, and nobody ever could imagine that the purest of all kunds in the entire universe was reduced to just an insignificant pond of water, which had no meaning. It was just a pond, just like any other pond of muddy water, right? And the Lord sees this, and being Sarvagya, he just entered that water, and then he started bathing in that and taking the mud and rubbing it and getting horripilations and chanting loudly, and even into fit of ecstasy, So, and of course, he told the Sri Goswamis to also excavate all the places of pilgrimage in the holy places, right? So this is a place where the Lord has designed. As I was saying in the beginning, the Lord is concerned with us. He is never disconnected with his creation, and especially with his children, especially with his dear devotees. So he makes himself fully available. This is what we are trying to understand today, the scheme of creation. As I said in the beginning, the creation the Lord has made in such a way that where, even though it is a place which is a prison house for the conditioned souls who are suffering, he has created avenues whereby we can again reform. And the purpose of prison is reformation. It is punishment and reformation. So yes, we get punished. The corona was a punishment, a huge punishment for what the world has done. So, and of course, there are so many wars and so many diseases and cancer and everything else. All these things are basically type of punishment for the prisoners who have, decided to evade the Lord. And yet, the only purpose of prison cannot be just punishment, because if there is no place for reformation, the prison loses its value and it loses its purpose, right? You just sit there and suffer and suffer and suffer, but it's a place where actually you get reformed. So the temple of the Lord, the devotees of the Lord, the Dham, are places where again we get reconnected, we get reformed. So that's a place of illumination. We go to places, this is a place where Rupa Goswami stayed here. This is a place where actually Mahaprabhu Chaitanya was born. Like, for example, we are talking about Mahaprabhu's birth, right? Now that place also was lost. After Mahaprabhu came into this world, imagine the Yuga Avatar was here, just not thousands of years ago. Or talk of Krishna's Leela was 5,000, but just few hundred years ago, the Lord had come here and the place was lost. Imagine the power of time, and the power of time to cover up reality. The power of time to cover up, right? The clouds of Kali Yuga are so dense that within no time things get completely lost, right? Unless effort is made to again preserve them. So Mahaprabhu appeared in 1486, and when Bhattan Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there in the late 18th century, in just 300 years, nobody really knew. In 300 years, the place of Mahaprabhu's birth was not known. People said he's on this side of the Ganga, he's on that side of the Ganga. So people were saying there is a place called Navadvip, which is on the western side of the Ganga. No, it is on the eastern side of the Ganga. It is not true. And Bhakti Thakur had to spend so much of his time and energy with reading maps and scriptures, and then again doing a research project to figure out where is the actual place of the Lord's appearance, right? And then we know the story of how he was standing at at a place across in Godrumadvip, and there he saw illumination. He saw a bright light, and a whole city was manifested in the place. And he went there, he saw Tulsi plants there, and the whole story is given, right? And therefore, again, the place was re-excavated. So the Lord's place where he was born and his pastime places are places where when we go there, and especially when we hear, like we were fortunate to go with Radha Gopinath Prabhu, our beloved, Brahmachari, senior Vaishnav. We went to a place called Chitrakoot just about 3 weeks ago, right? And to go to the place where actually Ram and Bharat met, go to the place where actually the Janaki Kund, go to the place where Hanuman is manifest today as in Hanuman Dhara, go to the place where all these pastimes were taking place in Chitrakoot, and hearing it there is experiencing. What happens there? When you experience, heart gets illuminated by the Lord's Leela, right? And becomes enthused. We become enthused, correct? So in this way, this is another place where we really take shelter of to illuminate our hearts, go to the Dham of the Lord. And of course, there are many such avenues of illumination, but the primary source of illumination is the Lord's own holy name, right? It's Lord's own holy name, right? So, just like Haridas Tagore is saying, that when we chant even Namabhas, then illumination in the heart starts, right? Illumination starts in the heart. And therefore, Namabhas is sufficient to eradicate all reactions to sinful activities done in the past because of bad karma, right? And when the sun of the holy name arises in the heart, then that is Shuddhanam, Shuddhanam. So therefore, the holy name actually is not different from Krishna, and it is the primary means of actually illuminating our dark heart. So now to discuss about illumination, we need to understand what happens when the heart is illuminated, right? The heart is illuminated, one powerful realization surfaces within the consciousness. Because when you start seeing things, right, what do you start seeing? A very powerful relation emerges in the heart. What is that? Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishna Nitya Das. When illumination actually comes up in the heart, then we realize who the Lord is and who am I and what is our relationship with each other, right? That I was never the Lord. I was never supposed to be the master, the controller, the enjoyer. I was never supposed to be playing those roles, which I was forcefully playing because of the illusory covering of my darkened cave of consciousness. And now that it is illuminated, I can see that the Lord is my eternal master. This was a prayer of in Mahaprakash Leela when Murari Gupta was revealed. As we know, in Mahaprakash Leela, the Lord is, fulfilling everyone's desires. Whatever devotee was asking, the Lord would say Tathastu, and he would fulfill the desire. So at the time when it said, Murari, come here. And Murari Gupta came there, right? He was a Lord's friend. He was a Vaidya. He was a Ayurvedic physician, right? So then Mahaprabhu started glorifying him and said, your name is Murari Gupta. Why is it called Gupta? The word Gupta, even today we have this surname called Gupta. Gupta means Gupta. The Lord is a prisoner hiding within his heart. He's hidden there in his heart. Therefore, it's called Gupta, right? And then the Lord, of course, revealed his transcendental form as he said, Murari, look at yourself. And by the time Murari's body had changed into Hanuman, right? And the Lord actually manifested his form as Krishna Balram. And Mother Sita was there. So he gave the Ram Darbar Darshan to Murari Gupta in the Mahaprakash Leela. It was so wonderful. And said, Murari, offer prayers to me. And what would you like to have from me? What the Lord is Varadaraj, gives Vardhan. What do you like to have me? So the Murari Gupta's prayers are very special. Said, my dear Lord, I want to have the association of those people who always understand within their heart that you are the eternal Lord, that they are your eternal servants. Give me association of such people who are illuminated with this understanding and they live an entire life. They're not illuminated in terms of theoretical knowledge, but they live every moment of their life when they speak, when they work, when they do their activities in this day, in the entire lifetime, then that activity is foundationally based upon this understanding that they are Krishna's servants and that Krishna is their eternal master, right? The association of such people who live a life in accordance with this realization, right, is the most powerful blessing we can ever receive, right? Who are not at all covered over, but are illuminated in this lofty understanding of their eternal role in relation with Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, right? So in this way, when we get illuminated, then the heart actually rejoices in this realization. Because still we do not really accept this modality of being a servant. We suffer like anything. We just simply suffer. Because it is not our nature to enjoy. And the more we try to enjoy, we get more and more bound by the powerful laws of karma. Because the laws of karma are made for those people who are still thinking that they are enjoyers. And every time they try to enjoy, they create a karmic action, which is followed by a karmic reaction. and therefore they completely keep on suffering and suffering and suffering. But the moment we really actually go back to our roots as the Lord's servant, then practically the laws of karma stop acting on us. How wonderful is that, right? How wonderful is that understanding that the moment we say we are the Lord's servant, then no more powerful laws of karma which bind. Anadi karma phale pari bhavar navar jale. Bhagavad says that anadi karma phale, from anadi time, we are bound by the laws of karma. And that chain to stop this, endless cycle of birth and death and the karmic bondage is to accept that I am the Lord's servant. Simple and yet very profound, right? I'm the Lord's servant, right? I raise a family on Krishna's behalf. I do my work on Krishna's behalf, right? Everything we do is on Krishna's behalf. I do my studies on Krishna's behalf, right? So everything I'm doing it with the understanding that this is for Krishna. I'm making this offering, I'm making this thing in the kitchen for Krishna's pleasure. So when we do everything with keeping Krishna in mind, Krishna Arpanam Astu, that becomes the bhava of our heart, then no more laws of karma will work upon us. It becomes transcendently activated, right? So these are some of the thoughts which we need to keep in our hearts very active. And like to conclude by saying how in the age of Kali Yuga, when there is no illumination, and as I said, darkness comes over, then the Lord, we talked about the sun and the moon, right, today. How it would be like if the sun and the moon were to arise together. The sun comes in the morning, and the moon comes at night. But Kali Yuga is such a special place, it's such a special time. This particular Kali Yuga is very special. Why? Because sun and moon have arisen together in the eastern horizon. And that is the understanding given to us by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his invocation prayers to Chaitanya Bhagavat, when he says, Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Saha Uditaha, Gaudodaya Pushpavanto, Chitra Santo Tamonado. Right? Obeisances, Vande, obeisances to that personality who's like the sun and the moon arising in the eastern horizon of Gaudadesh. Gaudadesh means is Bengal, right? And they have come to, so Kali Yuga is such a dark place that one sun is not enough. You have the sun and the moon together, right? So this is a unique thing. And therefore, when Srila Prabhupada was asked, to give a name to the temple which he was building in Lilananda, Mayapur, he said it is called as Mayapur Chandro Udaya Mandira, right? So this place, Mayapur, is actually the most illuminated place in the entire universe today, right? There is no more, every dham, every scripture, every devotee will receive his primary, the nucleus of illumination in this universe is Sridham Mayapur. There is a nucleus, and then everything, of course, like the solar system, you have the sun, then all other planets get light from the sun, right? Therefore, the primary source of all good fortune is situated in Sridham Mayapur. And all of the dhams may become weak with Kali Yuga because of the overpowering influence of Kala Chakra, the covering potency. It's called like the Avaranatmika Shakti of the Lord. Avaranatmika Shakti, Avarana means close down. Maya has got two Shaktis, Avaranatmika and Prashikatmika Shakti. So Avaranatmika Shakti covers all the dhams also to a certain extent, and therefore the dhams sort of do not look the way they're supposed to look. They look different. You go to Vrindavan, you see skyscraper buildings and golf clubs. You're bewildered. How did the golf club come into a Vrindavan Dham? How this 14, 15, 17 story buildings are coming in. So, am I in Bombay or in Hyderabad or in Vrindavan? Where am I? Right? So you get bewildered. But the Dham which will actually keep on making, which will expand rapidly in Kali Yuga is Sridham Mayapur. And the primary satellite center, like you have the sun, you have satellite. The primary satellite of Mayapur is Sri Kolkata Dham, right? So these two places will in the future become the most powerful sources of Krishna consciousness for the entire world. Kolkata, because it is a place of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, right? And the founder Acharya of ISKCON. And Mayapur, because actually it is said that Kolkata is the gateway to Mayapur. Radhan Maharaj spoke at length on this profound understanding for 3 days at a length of how, in fact, many places in Kolkata are part of Gaur-Mandal Bhumi itself. Gaur-Mandal Bhumi is not just Mayapur or Navadip. It is 32 miles in perimeter, right? So that part, so Kolkata actually automatically falls within the geographical range of Gaur-Mandal Bhumi also. And many of Mahaprabhu's Leelas have been done in what we call today as modern city of Kolkata. And therefore, we as sadhakas take complete shelter of Sri Gaur and Nitai. Complete shelter. Bhajo bhajo bhai, Chaitanya Nitai, Sudrida Vishwasa Kori. With complete implicit faith that these are the saviors of Kali Yuga. Right? Haridas Thakur and Srila Prabhupada are pushing us towards taking shelter of these two primary sources of unlimited grace, Sri Gaur and Nitai. Right? And by doing that, a life becomes supremely successful. And then no darkness remains, no illusion remains, and heart becomes completely suffused with the illumination of Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy. And today morning I end with this understanding. Today morning we were singing the prayers to Radha Madan Mohan. Thakur Bhakti Vinod, when he says that one of the Lord's name is Manasa Chandra Chakora. Manasa, it is Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Probesha, that song is so nice, right? So then when the heart becomes illuminated, then what happens to the mind? The mind becomes like a chakora bird. What is the chakora bird? Chakora bird is very special, unlike any other bird in this world. The chakora bird is a bird which only actually takes illumination and rainwater from illumination from the sun, from the moon, right? It doesn't look at any other source of nourishment from all the unlimited amount of bodies, water bodies in the in the earth. It only looks for the rain cloud. And therefore the mind becomes like that the mind no more looks for pleasure in the sources of misery. We are looking for pleasure in the sources of misery. That's the problem with us, right? But we look for pleasure in the source of pleasure. So the pleasure is, Prabhupada's primary book which he wrote was Krishna. There's a small book, you may have read it before. I think most of us read it in the beginning days. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, right? That is what Krishna's primary profile of his personality is, that he's a reservoir of pleasure. And we're looking for pleasure. Anandamaya Bhyasat, you're looking for pleasure. So rather than looking for pleasure in the source of misery in the world of matter, we get illuminated to understand, like the chakora bird, to look at the moon, right? For the bright moonlight. And we do not look for any substitutes. When we start looking for substitutes in this world and look only towards Krishna, then that is the perfection of illumination in our lives. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. This are some thoughts I thought I'll just share with all of you on the topic of Deepavali and Kartik Mas and of course reminiscing with a sober heart how Srila Prabhupada's, the son of Prabhupada's physical presence was set today, but Prabhupada physically, the sun set today in Vrindavan, but Prabhupada did not actually leave this world. Why? Because Prabhupada's Vapu definitely left this world on 14 November 1977, but his Vani is continuing to illuminate the world after so many years of his physical departure also. And it will illuminate this world for the next several thousands of years. And that is what we all have been blessed with, to bask into the bright sunlight of Prabhupada's grace and to live a life according to his teachings, according to his desire, and to align ourselves as much as possible with a lifestyle in accordance to his teachings will be the primary goal of our lives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you just illuminated all our hearts with your discourse, and you told how to illuminate so beautifully, and you ended with the holy names, the temples, the pastimes, everything but the holy names. And that's so nice, Prabhuji. And you started with the sun, practically showing that the sun has
Yeah.
risen.
Yeah. Now sun is almost 20 degrees above the horizon now.
Prabhuji, Prabhuji. Can we take some questions, Prabhuji? Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, one question. I would like to start with one question, and I'll also encourage others to ask. So, Prabhuji, this material world, as you said, is a place of darkness, right? And unless the Supreme Lord throws the light, like you explained, supplies the light, there is no hope for any light here. It's completely dark. So, Prabhu, in this material world, we are all suffering souls, kind of stranded, getting trained to go back. And now we come across Prabhupada, such a great Acharya, great fortune of ours that we have got introduced to the reality of everything,
Yes.
because of Prabhupada. Otherwise, we were completely,
Yeah.
in dark.
Yeah.
Now we are motivated to serve, right? Now we are motivated to serve. When you want to go and serve, Prabhupada also says, and as well as Radhanath Maharaj also says, that don't see bad in others, see good in others. So see good in and then serve. So what is the mood one should carry? Because when you want to serve, right, you want to correct things also. And how much can you correct the greed and problems in this material world? The material world is designed to have them, right? I mean, including the recent Bangladesh incident, which has really shaken all our hearts. Such a brutal incident where people were killed. Your devotees were killed. Devotees who don't even stamp an ant when it is going, they were brutally killed. When you see all this happening around you, and you also see that nobody is interested, and to actually learn, and there is so much sin around us, sinful tendencies around us, and include in us also, right? I mean, in me also, there is still the tendency there. How to serve this material world? When you can't correct it, when you can't do anything about it, what is the right mood to serve the material world?
Why would you say so, the material world? What is the meaning of the material
Yeah,
world?
I mean, when I say serve the material world, uh, do the duty that Prabhupada has given us, that distribute this knowledge, and
Yeah.
show the compassion of Lord to others through you.
Yeah. Remember, there's a small story in the Journey Home book. The starfishes are there, and they are getting washed to the shore, right? All of them are coming out, and then Maharaj takes those fishes and throws them inside. Remember that story?
Yes.
Right? And then somebody asking, "What are you doing?" Because they're all getting washed again. A little extra effort to take one particular fish and goes right inside, and then throws that into the ocean again, right? Because when they're out, then they're on the shore, then they die, right? So this story is very instructive, because odds are very high, and how much can you really do type of thing, right? Because as you said, sinful tendencies, sinful people, but whomever you can save, that particular fish at least was saved, right? So whomever we can, whom we have some area of influence over, right? We all of us have some circle of influence over, maybe our colleagues, maybe our family, maybe our neighbors, maybe our relatives. We all have some circle of influence wherever we are staying, right? Wherever we are situated. And therefore, like for example, we have brought the doctors to GEV, right? So at the hospital, we have some influence over our doctors who are working in Prabhupada's hospital. So for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, we thought of bringing them here, so they can experience what Prabhupada has given us, what Radha Maharaj has given us, what is made available for us to experience. So when they come here, their hearts are getting transformed. And today, some people came for Mangal Aarti, which is not the usual practice for doctors to do. They will not get up at 4:15 and come to a temple. This is not the usual thing they will do in their life. And they're attending the programs, etc. So point is that we do whatever we can Prabhupada has already done so much, right? I mean, imagine the state where Prabhupada started off, what he started to do. You're talking about what you want to do now after 50 years of ISKCON. But when Prabhupada started his mission, what was really there? And imagine the odds were innumerable, right? And therefore, what he could do only is to simply cry. At Shantipur, Prabhupada is sitting there in front of Advaitacharya's temple, Advaita Bhavan. Some of you already have been there, and he's simply shedding tears only there. That's all he's doing. He's simply crying, right? He said, and then the pujari is, he has seen him before, and he asked him, he used to come as a grihastha in a white dress, and he knew that his name is Abhay Babu, and now he's come in a saffron dress. He said, no, you are crying. What's wrong? He said, my guru has given me an impossible task. My guru has given me an impossible task. Imagine making the whole Western world Krishna conscious. Who can even give such a command? The person who gave the command also was great. The person who received also was great. Nobody would make, Kolkata Krishna. So that would be good enough. That itself would be, quite a mandate. But he was told to make the whole Western world Krishna conscious. Paschatya Desha. Right? The entire Paschatya Desha he was supposed to tar. Taro means to liberate them, deliver them, emancipate them, make roadways for their salvation. Right? That was a mandate given. Imagine the mandate itself. And this man could only cry. And the cries were cries of compassion. And Maharaj once explains what is the power of the tears of a pure devotee. Now, people like you and me, we cry also. When we cry, we get hurt, we get a backache, or we start crying because something happened in our life, and we cry, right? And, women make a little more than men, being emotionally the way they are. But what is the power of our tears, right? But Maharaj is saying something nice. That what is the content and the power of the tears of a pure devotee? Because they never cry for themselves. They only cry for the world, right? So Prabhupada saw the suffering of the world around him. He could simply cry in helplessness. When he was a Jaladuta, and he saw the skyline at Boston Pier, looking at that terrible place, right? Lilananda, we have seen, I'm sure you're going to Boston and see that. Right? When I went to Boston, I saw this place. I said, wow, the place, this is what Prabhupada saw. This is the place which Prabhupada saw, and that inspired his heart to write this beautiful poetry, right? And then when we got down from Boston Pier, then I was with I was the president of Boston Temple. We sat there, and we sang that song. We sat came out on the shore, and we actually sang this song right there, and tried to feel something what Prabhupada must have felt at that time. Correct. So, in one sense, even though what you're saying appears more like a helpless mood, but yet Prabhupada has done already a lot of things. The books are there, the devotees are there, the temples are there. ISKCON is known, Hare Krishna is a household. A lot of things have been already done by Srila Prabhupada. We just have to do a little bit of. We just need to do a little bit of our share to just become, as Prabhupada said, postal peons. Remember, Prabhupada said that word, postal peons, where it is not your money, it is somebody else's money, and the guy just takes it from the post office and gives it to the deliverer. Said, Prabhupada said, I'm just like a postal peon. So we are all Prabhupada's postal peons, and if we just keep on giving this message, it's not our message. We are not doing anything. We're just saying what he said. We're just giving the books which he has written. We just speak what he has done. We just sort of, okay, in between, like a, what do you call, like a dalal. Dasturi loy means purna hobe kam. You just carrying that thing, and you get a little bit of commission out of that. And commission is Krishna's grace. Be happy with that commission. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So do the best. So your answer is
Yeah, so we do whatever best we can, and we remember that we will be empowered to do that. We will be empowered to do that. The more we try to do things which Prabhupada wants us to do, His grace will flow through us if we are sincere, and therefore things will become easier because we are being empowered.
So, Prabhu, second part of my question was, when you see bad in the material world, when you see so much bad happening, how should you understand that bad and accept that bad and continue?
In the hospital, you'll only find sick people. In the jail, you'll only find hardcore prisoners, right? And you were a prisoner, I was a prisoner also. We were one of those bad people who are part of this. And we have changed, we have been reformed by some devotees who helped us out. So and that will remain, that nature of the world will not change. The bad will always be there. In fact, probably the bad will become worse, and the worst may become worst, right? But our role would be to save as many people as possible. And in one sense, as things become bad, those who are a little intelligent will realize that the escape route is very easy. Right? So the bad also has a role to play, because when people actually suffer terribly, their heart actually becomes opened up to some means of some relief, right? Like suffering and like crazy, right? You have become a little more sobered down, and you become more open up to any alternative lifestyles. So that's what the corona is doing to a certain extent. It's supposed to do that, where people actually open up to different avenues of, people have become a little more spiritual after the corona pandemic, right? So the purpose of suffering is to open the heart. Artho artharthi jigyasu would mean that the artha soul, when he suffers more, will become, so all of us mostly people come to Krishna because we were arthas, right? We were suffering. And the more people realize they're suffering, they actually become open to receive the message. And therefore, we have to even more enhance our efforts to preach. Whatever little we are doing is not enough. We have to have more outreach, reach, because people are suffering. People are suffering terribly, right? And we need to reach out to them. How to reach out to them? Through medias and various other. Just reach out to them and say, give them a chance. Give everybody a chance. And those who are fortunate will take it up, right? So things will get worse, but we keep on doing what we're supposed to do. The warrior never thinks of how bad the enemy is, but he is supposed to play his role. He goes out and just does his role. What the commander has told him, he just does it. The enemy is powerful or not powerful. He just does what he is supposed to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your very profound understanding of that. Thank you. So any other questions from anyone?
Maybe we can end here.
Oh, you have
so the other arguments are there which are sort of waiting.
Oh, Krishna.
The doctors, doctors have come in, so we need to play some role there with the other doctors also.
Roji, we are extremely grateful for your time. I mean, time and again, I say this but really from our heart, because we don't have the association of many senior devotees here, and there is always inspiration needed in spiritual life, which I personally have got a lot from you. Since my spiritual life started, practically I listened all your lectures in Chopati, so to a certain time. And as I told, even in the past, I have the superheroes in my life, and you're one among them. And and you coming to this call and sheerly accepting to be here itself is overwhelming for me. My stupidity is even till 7:14 I wait. Will Prabhuji come? Because I don't think I deserve to get your association. But I'm so eager for everyone here to hear from you, because the way you speak, again, I said even last time, you imbibe humility a lot in everybody you speak to. You bring us back to the ground, you make us stand on the earth, and then say how great is Krishna. You always do that even in today's lecture, you just illuminated us with that fact again. So I'm so grateful, Prabhuji. You being in GEV, I'm sure you have a great big service today, and still you gave time for all of us. I mean, how can we repay this? how can we give you back for what you're giving to us, the whole parampara you carry. And today is also the disappearance day of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji.
Yes.
So a very auspicious day. So we are so grateful that you took us to Mayapur Dham, the very place where Gaur Kishore Babaji, stays. And you said that is the place where all our hopes will be. And Prabhuji, we all are going to Mayapur on January 9th to 15th.
Oh,
Yeah, around 180 of us from
oh,
Hyderabad. Yeah, it's a big yatra.
yeah.
So we need your blessings and
Hmm.
and well wishes so that we get what we are going for.
Who's going? Any of our brahmacharis coming with you?
We are uh, we are planning to engage some brahmacharis in Mayapur to help us show the
Local
path.
brahmacharis. Right.
Local brahmacharis. So we'll be doing one day in Kolkata, as you said, the gateway to Mayapur. We'll go to Prabhupada's appearance place and
Yeah.
the Ulta Danga Junction if it's possible. Actually,
Oh,
we also wanted to do Ganga Sagar, but then there are some aged people who are coming with us, so it's difficult to go all the way down and again come back. But 5 days fully in Mayapur is what we have planned. So, so, but we do are missing, Prabhuji. I personally am missing the Kartik Yatra where I could see you in person and see all the Diggaj, devotees, the great devotees, all of them in person. But I don't know when that day will come again. Um,
very soon.
very soon. That probably it'll happen then.
Very
You
soon.
told it.
I'm sure.
Hari bol, Hari bol.
Because no, you are echoing what is the desire of so many devotees. So Krishna cannot allow so many devotees to. So you are just speaking what is in the heart of everybody.
Hare Krishna. And we're also grateful to Vishaka Mataji to make it happen in your schedule. I'm sure she would have requested you to do this, and we are so grateful to her. So let us thank Dwarkadish Prabhu and Vishaka Mataji with 3 loud and enthusiastic Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol.
Yeah. Wishing
Prabhuji,
a wonderful yatra in Siddha Mayapur in the new year, and fill your hearts with all the inspiration which you need to practice and to preach Krishna consciousness.
thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare
Vancha
Krishna.
kalpatarubhasya kripa sundambhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। द्वारकाधीश प्रभु की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा। Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. Just as you all are leaving the meeting, let's meet today evening. This is Kartik month, and let's come and do Damodar Ashtakam together. If you have not yet confirmed your counts, please do confirm. It is in Udayanand Prabhu and Sucharita Mataji's house in Sun City. I have already sent the invite. Please come. This is a great opportunity to pray together, to stay together, and to tell and to declare together to the Supreme Lord that we want to serve Him, and we will all serve together. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.